Hey guys, I just wanted to take a minute to make a short video, kind of a PSA to parents. My little sister is a public high school teacher. Well, I guess not anymore. She just handed in her resignation, and she's heartbroken over it because she loves what she does. She's been doing it for a while now, but she just could not bring herself to participate in what is happening to education this year. So there's been kind of a snowball effect. As the summer has gone on, they've gotten different information from the school about how this year is going to look, and a couple of things were so big. I mean, there were a lot of little things, but a couple of things were so big she couldn't even keep on teaching. And so my little sister, being sweet and not wanting to be nasty or spicy about the school or about teachers, I wanted to say a few things that I feel like maybe I can say it in a little more straightforward manner, because I don't want to be nasty either, but boy, it makes me crazy mad hearing what is going on. And it makes me mad, I don't even have a dog in this fight. I've got 6 children, and I homeschool all of them. So the public schools are not hurting me by what they're doing, but I have friends and people I care about. The public schools have a monopoly on their child's education, and it is not okay the way it's going down. So little PSA, let me just give you a little insider baseball on what is happening this year. So she had 2, like I said, really big things, and those are the things that really bother me too, so I'll just spell out what those mean. First of all, there's a lot of guidelines for COVID. Everybody wants to stay safe and make sure that everybody feels protected, and so there's a lot of guidelines about teachers and students getting sick, understandably so. And as they have come down through the TEA, and of course this affects all the public schools in Texas, and I imagine it's very similar across the country, what's happened is, if a teacher or a student tests positive for COVID, then they're going to have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and they'll tell everybody who's closely associated with them, and there's a lot of measures, and that makes sense, that's fine. People are worried about this, and it's good to stay informed. The problem is that in addition to testing positive, you can just have some symptoms that are really low level, like a headache, chills, fever, and those are going to be presumed cases of COVID. So even though you haven't tested positive and you probably just have the sniffles or bad allergies, or you're just not feeling it that day, or you have a little cold, that's 2 weeks. 2 weeks of paid time off to everybody in the industry whenever they have symptoms like that. And I think we all know what that's going to result in. I'm not speaking out of school here to say that in every industry there's going to be a lot of people who say, oh wow, a bunch of paid time off whenever I don't feel well. There's that. And then even for a lot of totally honest people who are not going to take extra paid time off, you're just going to feel like that, a good number of times during the year potentially. And so what really concerned my sister is, hey, if we're popping out of our classroom 2 weeks at a time over and over throughout the year, that's going to derail anything we're trying to do academically, right? And so she's thinking that's going to mean a lot of substitute teachers. And I think we all know substitute teachers, for a lot of districts, and especially when they really need subs, the standards could be as low as a high school education. Some of them have higher standards, but also this year everyone's going to need substitute teachers, so you have to believe the standards are going to stay pretty low. So the quality of the person in the classroom, that's going to be in question. And the stories my sister has told me about some of her subs are horrifying. People who come in and let the kids fight or make out or do, just talk about all kinds of juvenile things, satanic rituals, watching really raunchy videos, with the kids on the internet. It's not a good experience to ever have a sub in her class, and so she's thinking, wow, I'm going to have a substitute teacher being, instead of just once in a while throughout the year, hardly ever, they're going to be part of the main event for my kids. That's a problem, because usually there's no real academic move forward, and you know how kids feel about substitute teachers. They don't really respect them, they kind of joke around or make fun of them a lot of the time. They don't feel like the substitute teacher has a lot of authority or that there's a lot of consequence for not listening to them, which is usually true. So that was a big problem for her, big red flag. She's like, how are we supposed to move forward? You know, if for 2 weeks I'm out of class and they're doing basically nothing, so they have 2 weeks of doing nothing, and then I come back and spend 2, 3, 4 days just getting them back to where we were 2 weeks ago, how is that going to be a quality education for my students? So that was problem number one. And then the other shoe dropped, the thing that made her feel like she actually had to hand in a resignation. Right before the school year's ready to start, they have this meeting and they talk about synchronous learning. So of course the schools are offering, right, there's going to be a few initial weeks of online only instruction, and then parents will have the choice. Does your child come to face-to-face instruction with these guidelines, or are they going to learn from home? And they want to make sure that everybody is learning synchronously, right? And so the idea is, well, we don't want them getting a different education just because they're here or online. And all the wording sounds great. It sounds like compassion. But what it comes down to is the children who come face-to-face are going to sit at their desks and they're going to learn these online modules with very little interaction with the teacher, and they're not allowed extra resources or extra help because that would be unfair to the kids who are online. And so if you as a parent said, hey, I'm going to take that extra risk and send my child to face-to-face instruction because they don't learn well with these online modules and they need help from the teacher and they need extra resources, well, you're out of luck. They're not actually allowed to get that extra help. They're hobbling the teacher and holding the teacher back in the name of compassion, in the name of, well, it's not fair if the kids at home don't have those resources. And so what's happening is they're just setting the bar super low so everybody can be passed through. And the thing is, parents aren't going to notice this. You're not going to notice because they're not going to tell you that your child's not performing. I mean, as far as attendance, they're saying, hey, if the kid checks in at all during the instruction time, even if they're not present at their computer, even if they won't participate in class, you can't even ding them for attendance. So you're going to have a lot of kids at home who are just turning the computer on and walking away. They're not participating, but their parents, you're not going to get notification of that because the bar is going to be set so low. You're going to be thinking, oh, my little guy is doing just great on online instruction. It's not so bad. Turns out we could have been doing this all along. And then at the end of the year, they pretty much have no significant education for the time spent. I mean, the school is basically robbing a generation of children of their education. That's what's really going on. And of course, that's between the lines. Of course, that's not how they put it. But that, she's been doing this enough years that she understood exactly what they were saying to her. And they're just saying, hey, it's a lot like socialism. We can't make everybody rich, but we can sure make everybody poor. And so with this education situation, well, we can't give everybody a great education, but we sure can give everyone the same terrible substandard education. And, you're not going to hear this from employed teachers because what are they going to say? Yes, I've agreed and signed on to do a really substandard job this year. And honestly, to be fair to teachers, because I know and love some teachers, none of them think that. Of course, they're all raring to do their best, and I think that's what they're going to attempt to do. But what the school is doing is putting shackles on them and making sure that they're not able to do what they would like to do. And all the curriculum and all the standards are going to be rolled way back because the school is not going to allow them to fail the amount of children who, let's be honest, really would fail in the situation of having that same standard and having to basically babysit themselves through school because of the online learning situation. And I know it's not an ideal situation, and I get that everybody is in a tough spot, and I have some sympathy for the schools, but I can't stand that they have decided to do something that will hurt so many kids and so many parents and won't even give you a leg up when you try to take the extra step of sending your child to face-to-face instruction so that they can get help. And my sister, in terms of doing face-to-face instruction, her position is that if the people at Walmart are essential and the people who work at the pharmacy are essential and they need to interact with the public to do an essential job, she feels like she is essential. She's ready to interact with the public and do an essential job with her kids, and she hates that this is the case. So I guess at the end of this, I'll just say that's my PSA, and I'll also plug my sister. She's awesome, and she's trying to offer her own little hybrid that is kind of like a private school and kind of like a facilitated homeschool where either you can provide the curriculum or she'll provide the curriculum, and she's doing that for just a handful of students. She's trying to make that work this year since she just loves teaching and would like to find a way to keep teaching. So if you want to find her, I will give you her website, which is www.homeschool4success.com. But other than that, I just want to share this with you because wherever you are in the country, this applies to your school. They're all going to have some pretty similar rules. And keep in mind, you can look at the guidelines yourself and you can see the words yourself. And of course, they aren't saying low standards, low bar. They aren't saying, oh, lots of paid time off and lots of substitute teachers. But if you read between the lines and you see the logical consequences of what they are saying, I think you'll see that I'm not speaking out of school here. All right, I think I hear the kiddos waiting for me to come and take care of them. So, till next time.